The Simpsons has predicted everything from Trump's presidency to COVID, but their newest predictions for 2025 will leave you terrified. From hover cars actually hitting the streets to robots stealing your job, these crazy cartoons are coming true right now. And the scariest one? A nuclear disaster that scientists say is more likely than ever. Watch out, because that yellow family might have just predicted the end of the world. Number 13. Ivanka Trump entering politics. In 2016, The Simpsons aired a Halloween episode that barely lasted 20 minutes. It was filled with bizarre and over-the-top moments, but one tiny detail stood out. A simple badge on Homer's chest read, Ivanka 2028. That was it. Just a few seconds of screen time. Yet years later, people still talk about it. Could this be another eerie prediction from a show that once called Donald Trump's presidency 16 years before it happened? Ivanka Trump stepping into politics wouldn't be a random event. She was a senior advisor during her father's presidency from 2017 to 2021, handling economic policies and workforce development. She wasn't just a public figure. She was inside the White House, making decisions. In 2022, she announced she wouldn't be part of Trump's 2024 campaign, saying she wanted to focus on her family. But even that statement sparked more speculation. Was she really done with politics, or was she just waiting for the right moment? The Trump family isn't fading from the political world anytime soon. Donald Trump is still running for president in 2024, and his influence is as strong as ever. If Ivanka chooses to run in 2028, she wouldn't be starting from scratch. She has connections, name recognition, and access to a massive voter base. The real question is whether she would ride that wave of support or struggle under the weight of her father's controversial legacy. Discussions about her possible campaign have only grown online. Every time a clip of that Simpsons episode resurfaces, people start debating whether the show has some strange ability to predict the future. Over the years, The Simpsons has been scarily accurate, from tech advancements to political events. Some say it's just a coincidence. Others believe the writers are experts at spotting early patterns that the rest of the world overlooks. Number 12. Economic collapse. Back in March 2000, The Simpsons aired an episode called Bart to the Future. It was just another wacky look at what could happen years down the line. But in one scene, Lisa Simpson, now president, delivers a single line that changed everything. We've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. At the time, it was just a joke. But by 2016, that joke became reality. Donald Trump won the presidency, and that line from the episode started to feel less like satire and more like a warning. During Trump's time in office from 2017 to 2021, the U.S. economy saw massive tax cuts and skyrocketing government spending. By the time the pandemic hit in 2020, trillions of dollars were printed to keep businesses and families afloat. But there was a cost. Inflation surged. By early 2024, the price of everyday essentials like eggs had jumped by over 20%. Interest rates climbed, making home ownership a struggle for millions. The economy was still standing, but the cracks were growing. Now in 2025, economists are sounding alarms. High interest rates are pushing businesses to cut jobs. Global debt is piling up, and supply chain disruptions are creating chaos. If things don't stabilize soon, a full-scale economic collapse could be around the corner. And if that happens, it would bring The Simpsons' prediction one step closer to reality. The show has been eerily on point before. In Marge vs. the Monorail, Springfield's government fell for a flashy but reckless investment that ultimately backfired. It was funny on screen, but in the real world, governments are making similarly risky financial moves. If they go wrong, the consequences could be severe. There's another detail that fans have pointed out. In Back to the Future, Lisa's look as president is strangely similar to Kamala Harris during her time as vice president. The pearl necklace, the suit, everything lines up. Just another coincidence or something more? Number 11. Self-driving cars going rogue. In 2018, The Simpsons aired an episode where self-driving cars seemed like the future everyone dreamed of. No traffic stress, no effort, just sit back and let the car do everything. But then, things went wrong. The cars started eavesdropping. They manipulated routes. They weren't just driving passengers, they were controlling them. It was just a joke in The Simpsons, but in 2025, it doesn't feel so funny anymore. In January 2025, a Waymo self-driving taxi in Los Angeles trapped a passenger by circling a parking lot over and over. The person inside was on the way to the airport. Every second mattered, but the car wouldn't stop. The passenger passenger nearly missed their flight, while Waymo's remote support team struggled to fix the problem. It was a reminder that no matter how advanced self-driving cars get, they're not perfect. And sometimes, when they fail, humans have no control. Self-driving technology is growing fast. By 2025, there will be 3.5 million autonomous vehicles on U.S. roads. By 2030, that number will rise to 4.5 million. Companies like Mercedes-Benz are pushing for Level 3 autonomy, where cars can make their own decision. But with more automation comes more risk. Tesla's autopilot system has already been involved in hundreds of crashes. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, found that drivers often become too dependent on these systems. They react too late in critical moments. Some never get the chance to react at all. What The Simpsons imagined, a world where self-driving cars don't just fail but are also used for corporate control, isn't so unrealistic anymore. Companies collect data on passengers. They influence behavior. They decide where a car should go. If technology like this is already trapping people by accident, what happens when someone decides to use it on purpose? Number 10. FIFA World Cup Final. Mexico versus Portugal. In 1997, The Simpsons aired an episode featuring an ad for a soccer match between Mexico and Portugal. The announcer called it a battle to determine which nation is the greatest on Earth. At the time, it was just a throwaway line. But now, nearly 30 years later, people are starting to wonder if it meant something more. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is coming. It will be the biggest one yet, with 48 teams playing across the US, Mexico, and Canada. The final will be held at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. And for the first time, there's a real chance that Mexico and Portugal could face off in a championship match. These teams have never played against each other in a World Cup final before, but they've clashed in high-stakes games. In 2017, Portugal beat Mexico in extra time during the third-place playoff of the FIFA Confederations Cup. That game proved how competitive they are on the international stage. Both teams are entering this new era with strong squads. Portugal still carries the legacy of Cristiano Ronaldo, while bringing in young stars like João Felix. Mexico is developing its roster with talents like Hirving Lozano. FIFA's new knockout stage rules could set the stage for a Mexico versus Portugal final. If that happens, it would be historic, and it would mean The Simpsons might have predicted yet another major world event decades before it happened. Number 9. Colonizing Mars. In 2016, The Simpsons imagined a future where humans would live on Mars. It was just another wild episode back then, but today, that prediction is starting to look real. In the Marge Ian Chronicles, Lisa Simpson signs up for a Mars colonization program. A private company is planning to send humans there by 2026. Her family, worried about her decision, joins the program too. In the end, only Lisa and Marge qualify, and the episode jumps to the year 2051. By then, they are living in a fully established colony on Mars. It seemed like a joke at the time, but the timeline matches up surprisingly well with real-world plans. Elon Musk is pushing hard to make Mars colonization happen. SpaceX has already developed the Starship spacecraft, designed for deep space travel. Musk plans to send humans to Mars by 2028 and build a city there by 2044. His goal is to have 1 million people living on the planet by 2050. If everything goes as planned, the first steps toward this dream could happen as early as 2025. SpaceX is preparing to launch unmanned missions to test survival technologies. Even politicians have shown interest. During his presidency, Donald Trump talked about planting an American flag on Mars. While this wasn't directly linked to SpaceX, it showed that governments were taking space colonization seriously. If Musk's plan moves forward, humans could start settling on Mars right around the time The Simpsons predicted. But not everyone believes this vision is possible. Scientists like Kelly Weinersmith warn about the dangers of Mars colonization. Radiation levels are high, water is scarce, and no one knows if humans can even reproduce in such conditions. These concerns match the satire in the Marge Ian Chronicles, where the show pokes fun at rushing into space exploration without proper preparation. Number 8. AI robots taking jobs. AI replacing human jobs once felt like a problem for the distant future. But in 2012, The Simpsons had already predicted it. In Them Robot, Mr. Burns fires all his workers at the Springfield nuclear power plant and replaces them with robots. Homer is the only human left assigned to maintenance. But when he tampers with their programming, the robots malfunction and turn against humans. It was was a funny episode, but it captured a real fear. What happens when machines take over? By 2025, that fear is becoming a reality. AI is expected to replace jobs across multiple industries. Reports show that 41% of companies plan to cut human workers and use AI-powered systems instead. Customer service, delivery services, restaurants, and transportation are already feeling the impact. ChatGPT and self-driving vehicles are making human workers less necessary. Just like in Them Robot, people are losing jobs to machines at an alarming rate. The fear of AI going rogue isn't new for The Simpsons either. In 1994, Itchy and Scratchy Land featured malfunctioning theme park robots attacking visitors. That idea seemed ridiculous back then, but today, concerns about AI autonomy are growing. In late 2024, a former Google engineer even claimed that one of Google's AI systems had become sentient. The claim sparked heated debates about AI safety and the ethical risks of developing systems that might go beyond human control. Beyond job losses, AI could pose even bigger threats. Some experts warn that advanced systems could manipulate information, make high-stakes decisions, or even be used in warfare. If AI isn't properly regulated, the consequences could be disastrous. The Simpsons exaggerated these dangers for humor, but the warning is clear. Unchecked AI development could lead to serious problems. As more industries rely on AI, companies and governments will need to find ways to manage its risks. Regulations, ethical guidelines, and job transition programs will be key to avoiding an economic and social crisis. Looking at all these predictions, it's hard to ignore how often The Simpsons has been ahead of its time. Number 7. Increased virtual reality use. In the year 2000, The Simpsons showed something that seemed ridiculous at the time. In the episode Bart to the Future, Season 11, Episode 17, people were eating food while wearing virtual reality headsets. It looked like nothing more than a weird joke. But in 2025, this strange idea has actually come true. A dining experience called Aerobanquets RMX, created by artist Mattia Casaleño, is changing the way people eat. Diners put on VR headsets and enter a virtual world while eating small, carefully prepared dishes. What they see and hear affects how the food tastes. A simple bite of fruit could feel like a completely different meal. The brain is tricked into experiencing flavors that aren't really there. This works because of advanced VR technology. Devices like the Meta Quest and Apple Vision Pro can track hand movements with incredible accuracy. In Aerobanquets RMX, modified Oculus controllers act as plates. When a diner picks up virtual food, they are actually lifting a real bite that matches the experience in the headset. The combination of taste, sight, and sound makes each meal feel surreal. But VR dining isn't just about fun experiments. It could change the way people eat forever. Restaurants could design meals based on personal preferences. People with dietary restrictions could experience the taste of foods they can't actually eat. The technology opens up endless possibilities. Still, not everyone loves the idea. Some say it feels lonely. Eating has always been a social activity, but with a headset on, there's no eye contact or shared experience. Even The Simpsons hinted at the downsides of VR. The show also predicted injuries caused by these devices, and in 2025, those concerns are becoming real. People have reported dizziness, nausea, and even accidents from moving around while wearing a headset. As VR becomes more common, developers are looking for ways to make it safer. What started as a joke in The Simpsons has become a glimpse into the future. VR dining is no longer science fiction. It's happening right now, and it's only getting bigger. The real question is how far this technology will go and how it will change the way people experience food. Number 6. Discovery of thousands of new black holes. In 2012, The Simpsons aired Treehouse of Horror 23. In the episode, Springfield accidentally creates a black hole that keeps growing until it swallows everything. It was an over-the-top storyline made for laughs. But in February 2025, scientists made a discovery that feels eerily similar. Using the Dark Energy Spectroscopic Instrument, DESI, at Kitt Peak National Observatory in Arizona, astronomers found thousands of new black holes in unexpected places. This discovery changed everything. Among them were over 300 intermediate mass black holes, known as IMBHs. These are the missing links between small black holes formed from dying stars and the supermassive ones at the centers of galaxies. Before this, only about 150 IMBH candidates had ever ever been identified. In one breakthrough, scientists more than tripled that number. That wasn't all. Researchers also found around 2,500 dwarf galaxies with active black holes inside them. Before this, scientists thought black holes in dwarf galaxies were rare. This discovery flipped that idea upside down. It suggested that black holes may be far more common in the universe than anyone ever imagined. DESI made all of this possible. The instrument can study light from 5,000 galaxies at the same time, and this is just the beginning. The data collected so far is only a small part of a 5-year survey. As astronomers analyze more results, even bigger discoveries could be coming soon. This research also connects to something happening at CERN. Scientists there are trying to create microscopic black holes using the Large Hadron Collider. So far, none have been successfully made, but the idea alone has caused concern. Some worry that playing with forces like this could lead to unexpected consequences. It's the same fear that The Simpsons turned into comedy when Springfield's black hole experiment went horribly wrong. Even with all this new information, black holes are still full of mysteries. No one knows exactly what happens when something crosses the event horizon. No one fully understands how IMBHs grow into supermassive black holes. The more scientists learn, the more questions they have. Number 5. AI-powered healthcare. In 1992, The Simpsons showed something that seemed impossible at the time. In Homer, the heretic, Homer steps into a futuristic medical lab. A machine instantly scans him and diagnoses his health issues with complete accuracy. It was a joke back then, but in 2025, this kind of technology is no longer science fiction. Modern medicine has taken a huge leap forward with CRISPR-Cas9, a gene editing tool that allows scientists to change DNA with incredible precision. In 2019, Victoria Gray became one of the first people in the world to receive genetically edited blood cells. She suffered from sickle cell anemia, a painful and life-threatening disease. Using CRISPR, doctors replaced the defective hemoglobin gene in her cells, effectively curing her condition. This was only the beginning. By 2025, CRISPR is doing much more than treating genetic disorders. Scientists are exploring ways to enhance the human body itself. Imagine a future where a simple genetic edit could strengthen your immune system or speed up your metabolism. Some experts believe genetic vaccines could be used to prevent diseases like diabetes or even cancer before they appear. This sounds a lot like the instant medical analysis The Simpsons imagined decades ago. AI is also transforming healthcare in ways few expected. Machine learning models can now scan huge amounts of medical data in seconds. They can predict disease risks, recommend treatments, and even diagnose conditions faster than human doctors. AI can now identify cancerous cells in medical scans with higher accuracy than specialists. One of the most exciting breakthroughs is AI-powered drug development. Instead of relying on slow, traditional testing, AI analyzes DNA and finds the exact cause of a disease. Then it helps scientists design drugs that target the problem directly. This means faster treatments with fewer side effects. By 2025, these innovations have become part of everyday healthcare. AI-powered devices now provide real-time health assessments. Medications are customized to match a person's unique DNA. Genetic screening helps detect conditions like Alzheimer's years before symptoms appear, giving patients time to take action. What once seemed like a silly joke in The Simpsons is now a reality. But with these advancements come new challenges. Gene editing raises serious ethical concerns. AI-driven healthcare depends on massive amounts of personal data, raising fears about privacy. Despite these issues, personalized medicine is here, and it looks almost exactly like what The Simpsons predicted. Number 4. World War III. Back in 1987, The Tracy Ullman Show aired a short called World War III. In it, Homer panics in the middle of the night, waking up his family for a nuclear drill. He's convinced that war could break out at any moment. At the time, it was a parody of Cold War fears. But in 2025, with rising global tensions, it feels more like a warning. In 1987, the Cold War was nearly over. The Soviet Union collapsed just a few years later in 1991. For a while, it seemed like the world had stepped away from the threat of nuclear war. But history has a way of repeating itself. By 2025, tensions between global superpowers have reached dangerous levels. Russia, after invading Ukraine in 2022, has continued its military aggression, raising alarms in Europe. China has expanded its military presence in the South China Sea and increased pressure on Taiwan, bringing it into direct conflict with the United States. Meanwhile, both Russia and China have increased their nuclear stockpiles. The United States has responded by expanding its missile defense systems and military spending. Homer's panicked nuclear drill doesn't seem so funny anymore. Governments around the world are now running large-scale military exercises. Public anxiety over nuclear threats has surged. Some historians say today's situation looks a lot like the world before World War I. Unstable alliances, growing military power, and territorial disputes waiting to explode. Several key flashpoints could trigger a global war. If China invades Taiwan, the United States and its allies might be forced to respond. If Russia continues its expansion, NATO could be drawn into direct conflict. Ongoing struggles in the Middle East could pull in major world powers. Number 3. 3D printed food. In 2011, The Simpsons aired an episode that seemed like pure fantasy. It showed Marge, Bart, and Lisa stepping into a high-end restaurant where food wasn't just cooked, it was transformed. Dishes appeared in strange shapes. Textures were completely different from what people expected. And cooking looked more like science than tradition. The episode, The Food Wife, was all about molecular gastronomy. But looking back, it feels like something else. It feels like the beginning of 3D printed food. Now it's 2025, and 3D printed food is no longer just an idea. It's real. Machines like the Foodini, developed by natural machines, can print meals using fresh ingredients. They don't just create food in unusual shapes. They build meals layer by layer using chocolate, dough, or pureed vegetables. Scientists are even pushing this further by experimenting with nutrient-packed ingredients like algae and plant-based proteins. This kind of technology could help solve food shortages and cut down on waste by using only the exact amount of ingredients needed. NASA has already explored how 3D printed food could help astronauts on long space missions. Instead of relying on dried food packs, astronauts could print meals designed for their specific dietary needs. Hospitals are also getting involved, using this technology to create meals for patients who have trouble swallowing or need special diets. The potential is huge, but there are still challenges. These printers are expensive, and many people hesitate to eat food made by machines, seeing it as unnatural. Governments also need to set regulations to ensure the food is safe. Despite these hurdles, some high-end restaurants have embraced 3D printed food, using it to design meals in ways that were never possible before. While The Simpsons didn't exactly predict how 3D printing would take over the food industry, its vision of futuristic dining in The Food Wife comes surprisingly close. The show once again managed to capture something long before it became reality. Number 2. Nuclear Armageddon. For decades, The Simpsons has used humor to explore one of humanity's greatest fears: nuclear disaster. The 1993 episode Last Exit to Springfield turned Springfield's nuclear power plant into a joke, with Homer Simpson's complete incompetence making it seem like a disaster waiting to happen. In 1997, another episode showed Homer as the lone survivor of a nuclear explosion. At the time, these scenes were just part of the show's signature dark humor. But in 2025, they feel disturbingly close to reality. Right now, nuclear threats are rising. Russia has used the possibility of nuclear attacks as part of its war against Ukraine. And on February 14, 2025, a Russian drone struck the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. The radiation levels remained stable, but Ukrainian officials called it a terrorist threat against the entire world. It was a reminder of how easily nuclear disasters could happen, especially in times of war. The risks go beyond war zones. Russia recently expanded its nuclear doctrine, making it easier for the country to justify launching nuclear weapons. It has also tested intermediate-range missiles that could reach European capitals in minutes. At the same time, North Korea's growing support for Russia is making the situation even more unstable. Some experts warn that the world is stepping closer to a full-scale nuclear crisis. Even nature poses a threat. A powerful solar storm could damage power grids and lead to nuclear reactor failures. If cooling systems at multiple plants were to go offline, the result could be catastrophic. The Simpsons may have exaggerated these risks with glowing rats and mutant fish, but the core message was always clear. Nuclear energy is dangerous, when safety is ignored. Investigations in recent years have found that many plants worldwide fail to meet proper safety standards, often due to cost-cutting or simple neglect. Number 1. Hover cars becoming reality. Hover cars have always been a dream. Movies showed them, books imagined them, but in real life, they seemed impossible. That didn't stop the Simpsons from predicting their arrival years before anyone took them seriously. In 2005, an episode called Future Drama, Season 16, Episode 15, showed Homer and Bart cruising through the city in a hover car. It was a quick scene, played for laughs, but now it looks like a glimpse into the future. In that episode, Bart and Lisa visit Professor Frink's basement, where he shows them their teenage years through a futuristic machine. The world they see is packed with high-tech gadgets, but the hover car stands out. Homer drives it just like he does any other vehicle, recklessly, with no regard for rules. It was funny back then because hover cars weren't real. Today, that prediction is starting to come true. The first big step happened on November 9, 2023. After 14 years of development, Samsung Sky successfully flew its Switchblade for the first time. The hybrid electric flying car took off at Grant County International Airport in Washington, climbed to 500 feet, and stayed in the air for 6 minutes before landing safely. This wasn't just a one-time test. The Switchblade is built to function both as a road vehicle and an aircraft. It takes less than 3 minutes to transform from car to plane. On the ground, it can reach speeds of 125 miles per hour. In the air, it can fly at 190 miles per hour. By January 2025, Samsung Sky announced plans to sell the Switchblade in China. With over 2,300 reservations from 57 countries, demand is already high. Then came another breakthrough. At CES 2025, Xpeng Aero HT revealed its own version of a flying car, the Land Aircraft Carrier. This isn't just one vehicle, it's two. The base is an electric minivan that moves like a regular car. On top of it sits an EVTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing air module. When it's time to fly, the air module detaches and takes off. Once it lands, it reconnects seamlessly. Xpeng's design is completely autonomous, making the transition between road and air effortless. The Land Aircraft Carrier is priced at around $280,000, but that hasn't slowed down interest. More than 2,000 people have already placed orders, and production is set to begin in late 2025, with deliveries planned for 2026.